Hey everyone! So today we're going to talk about a date on the calendar that, for a lot of people, is way more than just a day off school or work. It's become this real flashpoint for pride, protest, and a whole lot of debate. Of course, I'm talking about Columbus Day.
And it all comes back to one single event that happened way back on October 12, 1492. So you gotta ask, right? How can something that happened over 500 years ago still stir up such strong feelings today? That's really the big question we're gonna try to unpack.
All right, so to really get into the controversy, we first have to understand what we're even talking about. Let's start with the basics. What is Columbus Day, and how did it even become a thing? On paper, it's pretty simple. Columbus Day is a U.S. federal holiday, happens on the second Monday of October every year. And officially, its whole purpose is to remember Christopher Columbus's landing in the Americas. You know, that voyage that connected the Old World and the New World and kicked off what we call the Age of Discovery.
But here's where it gets more complex. For millions of people, this day isn't just about a guy on a boat in 1492. It has evolved into something really personal and important, a celebration of Italian-American heritage.
So how on earth did an Italian explorer from the 15th century become this modern-day symbol for an entire community here in America? Well, to understand that, we need to look at how this holiday got wrapped up in the struggle for an American identity.
And this part of the story is, wow, it's really powerful. Back in the late 1800s, Italian Americans were facing just awful discrimination, and it got violent. After this horrific mass lynching of 11 Italian Americans down in New Orleans, the community was looking for a way to push back. So, celebrating Columbus, a fellow Italian who had this huge role in American history, became a way for them to say, hey, we belong here. We contributed to this nation. And you can literally watch this idea grow over time. It starts small, just a local thing in New York City in 1792. Then, exactly 100 years later, after that terrible event in New Orleans, President Harrison suggests a national observance, and then, finally, in 1937, FDR makes it official, a national, federal holiday.
So that's one narrative, right? A story of exploration, of a community finding pride and a foothold in a new country. But that's only one side of the story. And the other side is incredibly painful.
So now, let's flip the coin. We have to look at this exact same moment in history from a totally different perspective, one that sees not discovery, but absolute devastation.
For critics of the holiday, the argument is pretty clear. You can't celebrate the arrival of Columbus without also facing the catastrophic results for the people who were already here. His voyages opened the door to European colonization, which brought diseases that wiped out huge populations, the brutal enslavement of native people, and kicked off centuries of violence and displacement. This huge reevaluation of history didn't just lead to arguments and protests. It actually sparked a powerful movement to create a whole new observance, one that would tell a very different story on that same day in October.
And that, of course, is Indigenous Peoples Day. This holiday was created as a direct response, a counterpoint to Columbus Day. The whole idea is to shift the focus. Instead of celebrating the colonizers, it's about honoring the rich history, the incredible cultures, and the resilience of Native Americans, while also being honest about the terrible injustices they've faced.
And this idea has gained some serious momentum. I mean, it started as a counter-protest back in the late 80s, and it's grown so much that in 2021, we saw the first ever presidential proclamation from Joe Biden officially recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day. That's a huge shift.
So all of this has brought us to this really strange and unique place. We now have one day on the calendar that basically holds two completely different and often conflicting holidays at the same time.
And this really lays it all out. You've got Columbus Day on one side, which is all about a historic voyage and Italian-American pride. And on the other, you've got Indigenous Peoples Day, which focuses on honoring Native American cultures and confronting historical injustices. They share a date, but they represent two fundamentally different ways of seeing our past and who we are today. And that leaves all of us with a really deep question, one that's much bigger than just this one day. As we as a country learn more about our own history, and as our values change over time, how should the things we celebrate publicly change too? It's a question that gets right to the heart of what we choose to remember and what that says about who we are right now.